Hello and welcome! Today, we are going on an absolutely incredible journey through the history of human ingenuity. We're talking about the evolution of the computer, from the humble Abacus all the way to modern AI.
So just think about this for a second. How did we get from something as simple as beads sliding on a wire to the supercomputer you're probably holding in your hand right now? A device that can perform billions of calculations every single second. Well, that's the story we're going to unpack.
Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the mechanical ancestors. Then, we'll jump into the electronic dawn. After that, we'll race through the 5 generations of progress, and we'll wrap up by looking at where we are today and what might be just around the corner. It's going to be a fun ride.
All right, first up, the mechanical ancestors. Let's rewind the clock, way back. Before a single spark of electricity was ever used for computing, there were these incredible minds working with gears, levers, and just pure mechanical genius.
You know, what's so wild about this timeline is just the sheer scale of it. We start with the Abacus, way back around 5000 BC, but then it's a really slow burn for literally thousands of years, until we get logarithmic calculators in the 1600s. The pace really starts to pick up in the 1800s, thanks to pioneers like Charles Babbage and his amazing engines.
Let's just talk about the Abacus for a second. Yeah, it looks simple, right? A wooden frame, some beads, but the concept behind it is absolutely monumental. It proved that you can take something abstract, like a number, and represent it physically. That one idea, that's the bedrock. Every single computer that has ever existed is built on that foundation.
And that idea gets put on steroids with Charles Babbage. People call him the father of the computer for a reason. Now, his incredibly complex machines were never actually finished in his lifetime, but that didn't matter. His ideas were the revolution. The core principles he came up with are fundamental to every single digital computer we use today. He was basically dreaming of our future, just with gears and steam.
Which brings us to the next massive leap forward, the electronic dawn. This is the moment we leave the clanking world of mechanics behind and step into the age of electricity.
You see, for all their genius, those gears and levers had a problem. They had a physical speed limit. You could only make a gear spin so fast. To get quicker, to solve bigger problems, computing needed a totally new approach. The mechanical era had kind of hit a wall.
And the new technology that broke down that wall was the vacuum tube. You can think of it like an electronic light switch, but with absolutely no moving parts. It could flip a current on or off at incredible speeds. This was the key that unlocked everything. But it wasn't perfect. These things had short lifespans, and they generated a ton of heat.
But once we had vacuum tubes, innovation just exploded. Suddenly, we get this rapid-fire series of firsts. You've got the Mark I in 1937, still a bit of a mechanical beast. Then, the first fully electronic one, the ABC. That's followed by the legendary ENIAC in '46, the first general-purpose electronic computer. And then, boom, just a few years later, UNIVAC arrives as the first computer you could actually go out and buy. And this comparison between ENIAC and UNIVAC is just fascinating, because it shows how fast things were changing. In 1946, ENIAC is this top-secret, one-of-a-kind military machine for calculating missile paths. To change its program, you had to physically rewire it. A mere 5 years later, UNIVAC is a commercial product being installed at the U.S. Census Bureau. That's how quickly computing went from a weapon of war to a business tool.
This incredible pace is best understood if we look at it through the 5 generations of progress. This is really the story of making computers smaller, cheaper, and just exponentially more powerful with every single step.
So, what do we actually mean when we say a generation? It's not about a set number of years. It's all about the tech. A new generation happens when there's a huge technological breakthrough that completely changes how computers work, basically making the previous generation obsolete overnight.
Just look at this table. The jump in speed is staggering. The first generation, with vacuum tubes, measured things in milliseconds. By the fourth generation, with microprocessors, we're working in picoseconds. Now, to put that into perspective, there are as many picoseconds in 1 second as there are seconds in over 31,000 years. With each generation, the speed didn't just get a little better, it jumped into a whole new reality.
And that brings us to where we are right now, the 5th generation. The key tech is something called ultra-large-scale integration, but that's not the real headline. The real story of our generation is the change in focus. It's not just about raw speed anymore. It's about artificial intelligence. It's about new ways of computing like parallel processing. We're not just trying to make computers faster.
We're trying to make them smarter.
So, let's wrap this all up by talking about today and tomorrow's computing. It's a good moment to reflect on this insane journey and maybe peek at what's coming next.
I mean, when you step back and look at the big picture, the scale of this whole thing is just breathtaking. We went from computers that filled entire rooms and needed their own water cooling systems to devices in our hands that are millions of times more powerful. It's just a stunning example of the relentless pace of human innovation.
And that brings us to a final, really fascinating question to think about. We know our fifth generation is being defined by artificial intelligence, so what's next? What revolutionary technology is out there right now that's going to be so game-changing that it defines the sixth generation of computing? Now that's something to chew on.